Hey everyone, let's talk about a ghost from the Ice Age. The direwolf, an incredible predator that vanished thousands of years ago. Or, get it?
The last direwolf.
Highly publicized claims that
Apex predator.
Anchor site at an undisclosed location.
You might know the name from Game of Thrones maybe. It felt like something straight off science fiction had suddenly become real. The direwolf, an icon of the Ice Age, a creature of myth and legend, thanks in no small to George R.R. Martin. But Aenocyon Dirus, the real direwolf, was far more than just a fantasy beast. It was one of the most formidable predators roaming the Americas for over 100,000 years. And then, it vanished, around 10,000 years ago, gone, an extinct direwolf, until now. A company called Colossal Biosciences, specializing in what they call De-Extinction, announced the birth of 3 wolf pups, Romulus and Remus and Colossal, claiming that they carry the traits of the direwolf, essentially bringing it back. It's an incredible claim, but is it true? Are direwolves really back? That's what we are going to investigate together today. Let's dive into the story of this Ice Age legend, the science that supposedly resurrected it, and what this all actually means. It's a fascinating journey, believe me. So, to understand what might be back, we first need to understand what we lost. Forget the oversized fantasy wolves for a moment. The real direwolf, Aenocyon Dirus, was a powerhouse. Think of the largest grey wolves you know today. The direwolf was in that league, maybe even heavier. 175 pounds or up to 80 kilograms. But it wasn't just a bigger grey wolf. For decades, that's what scientists thought based on the bones found. Especially the thousands, literally thousands discovered in the La Brea Tower pits in Los Angeles. What a treasure trove. But look closer at those bones. The skull was broader, more massive. The teeth, larger, built for crushing wounds, not just shearing flesh like many modern wolves. Their bite was apparently stronger than any canis species we know. They were stockier, more muscular, built more like a tank than a long-distance runner. This suggests a different lifestyle. They were likely apex predators specializing in taking down the giants of the Ice Age. Horses, maybe even bisons, sloths, or young mammoths, probably hunting in formidable packs. Imagine seeing that. Wow. It paints a picture of a truly impressive, specialized hunter perfectly adapted to this world. But here's where the story gets really interesting, and where all mundane insanity completely changed. And for a century, we placed the direwolf firmly in the Canis genus, the same group as grey wolves, dogs, coyotes. Makes sense based on looks, right? Well, in 2021, a groundbreaking study using ancient DNA painstakingly recovered from fossils tens of thousands of years old through a massive curveball. Well, the genetics revealed that direwolves weren't close cousins of grey wolves at all. The evolutionary line actually split off from the lineage leading to wolves and dogs almost 6 million years ago. They belonged to their own genus, Aenocyon, the terrible wolf. They evolved entirely separately right here in the Americas for millions of years. And, perhaps even more surprising, despite living alongside grey wolves and coyotes for thousands of years, there's absolutely no genetic evidence they ever interbred. None. While other canis species mix quite readily, direwolves are reproductively isolated. Think about that, 6 million years of separate evolution. It means they were truly a unique branch of the canid family tree, a branch that ultimately ended. Why did they disappear? The direwolf extinction happened around 10,000 to 30,000 years ago as the last ice age waned. The direwolf vanished along with 2/3 of North America's other large mammals. It wasn't one single thing. It seems to have been the perfect storm. The climate changed rapidly, habitat shifted, and crucially, the main food source those giant herbivores started dying out. Horses, camels, sloths, gone. Direwolves were specialized hunters for big game. Their robust build wasn't ideal for cheating smaller, faster prey. Then there was competition. Grey wolves, perhaps more adaptable generalists, were also present. And maybe those millions of years of genetic isolation came back to bite them. Unlike grey wolves, direwolves couldn't tap into gene flow from other populations to potentially gain resistance to new diseases or adapt to changing conditions. Some fossils evidence even hints at potential inbreeding as the populations dwindled. And of course, humans arrived on the scene, likely putting immense pressure on the megafauna prey base. It seems the direwolf, so perfectly adapted to the Pleistocene, just couldn't cope with the rapid, multifaceted changes at the end of its era. A truly magnificent creature, lost to time. Which brings us back to April 2025 and Colossal Biosciences. This company, co-founded by entrepreneur Ben Lamb and geneticist Joe Church, is all about de-extinction. We are aiming to bring back species like the woolly mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, the dodo bird, and now, apparently, the direwolf. So, how did they create Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, the potential direwolf pups? It's a fascinating, multi-step process involving cutting-edge science. First, they managed to sequence ancient DNA from the direwolf fossils, a tooth from Ohio and ear bone from Idaho. Then, they compared ancient genome to that of its closest living relative, the grey wolf. They identified 20 specific genetic differences linked to key direwolf traits: size, musculature, maybe even fur color. Colossal suggests some direwolves might have been light or white. Using CRISPR gene editing technology, think of it like precise molecular scissors. They edited the DNA of grey wolf cells at these 20 specific spots to match an ancient direwolf sequences. Then, using a novel cloning technique involving blood cells, they created embryos with this modified DNA and implanted them into surrogate mothers, domestic dogs actually. And out came the direwolf pups, or at least pups intended to resemble them. Colossal reports the pups are healthy, larger than typical grey wolf pups, with traits like white fur and powerful jaws, potentially growing into direwolf size. They are housed in a large, secure preserve. It's an undeniable technological achievement. Colossal even used the same cloning tech to help conserve the critically endangered red wolf, boosting its genetic diversity. A tangible conservation benefit is spun out of this direwolf de-extinction worker. But here's the crux to the debate. The question everyone's asking: are these really direwolves? Are direwolves brought back? Colossal calls it the world's first de-extinction. But many scientists disagree strongly. Their argument is simple. Despite the 20 edits, these pups are still genetically overwhelmingly grey wolf, like 99.9%. Remember that 6 billion year evolutionary gap. That implies countless other genetic differences beyond those 20 edits, affecting everything from physiology to behavior. Critics, even including some advising Colossal, say calling the Romulus and Remus and Khaleesi pups direwolves scientifically inaccurate. They are perhaps better described as designer wolves or genetically modified grey wolves, engineered to look like direwolves in some ways. This whole spiel, it highlights a huge question in this field. What does de-extinction truly mean? Is recreating the appearance, the phenotype, the same as bringing back the unique genetic identity, the genotype of a species lost for 10,000 years, the extinct direwolf? Colossal's work is incredible genetic engineering, no doubt, but resurrecting Aenocyon Dirus in its entirety, that seems much harder, maybe impossible. It's a bit like taking a modern car, giving it giant wheels and a woolly mammoth paint job and calling it a woolly mammoth. Impressive modifications, sure, but Is it the same beast? Probably not. And beyond the science, there are big ethical questions. What about the welfare of these engineered animals and their surrogate mothers? What happens if such creatures are ever released? Modern ecosystems are totally different. The direwolf's prey is gone. Could they cause all the same problems? That's not quite Jurassic Park, but their concerns about introducing engineered animals are real. And perhaps the biggest question, with so many species critically endangered right now, like the red wolf, Colossal also helped clone, or facing threats like the dodo once did, is investing hundreds of millions in attempting the extinction of species like the direwolf or the woolly mammoth the best use of our resources. Colossal argues the technology developed helps conservation, which is a fair point, but it's debate we need to have. So, are direwolves brought back? Genetically, no. What we have are fascinating, technologically advanced grey wolves, carrying a handful of ancient genes, engineered to resemble a lost icon. They're testament to incredible scientific progress, but also a symbol of the complex, challenging, and ethically fraught path of the extinction. The real direwolf, Aenocyon Dirus, remains a ghost of the Ice Age, but its story, now intertwined with cutting-edge genetics and pop culture fame, thanks to George R.R. Martin and Game of Thrones, forces us to think deeply about direwolf extinction, conservation, the limits of science, and what it truly means to bring something back from the past. What do you think? Is this the future we want? Comment below.